Prosecutors argued Thursday that there was enough evidence through November's testimony from one of Butt's business partners, cell
No.
When did you meet Mr. Butt?
2018.
And you said you two worked together initially at a place called Frank's?
Frank's.
All right. Where was Frank's at?
He has a couple locations. He has 7, but the one I met him at was on Warren and Neff.
Warren and Neff. Okay. And what locations of Frank's did you work at with Mr. Butt?
Warren and Neff.
I want to take you back to when you were working at Frank's with Mr. Butts. Did you ever see Mr. Butts with any children there?
Yes.
And specifically, did you see him with any young girl children?
Yes.
And did you know who those were?
Yes.
Who were they?
His daughter, his niece.
Daughters and niece. What about any boys?
Yes.
Okay. And who were they?
His sons.
How often would you see him with children there at Frank's?
Sporadically.
And at 9000 Connor, did you see Mr. Butts with any children then?
Yes.
Okay. Any girls?
Yes.
And who would they be?
His daughter.
And what about any boys?
Yes.
And who would they be?
His sons.
And how often would you see him with children at 9000 Connor?
Sporadic.
Okay. And who was that Joe call with?
Jarvis.
Okay. And who was he talking to?
Me.
All right. And what was the topic of that jail call?
He called to ask would I receive a cell phone out of a truck for him.
And were you familiar with what truck he was asking you to get it from?
Yes.
What truck was that?
It was a Z71 Chevy Suburban.
And did you know who that truck belonged to?
Yeah, his baby mom or somebody he was dealing with.
Okay.
Thank you for using Tony.
My guy, what's up, man?
Nah, shit, man. What's happening?
Nah, shit, man. How you feeling? My bad, I missed your call. I was working like a motherfucker.
I figured they said you was up there banging, said something banging.
Yeah, you know it.
What's up, my nigga? Who is that, Tim? What's up, boy?
You know it.
Hey, shit. Man, I'm calling, man. You bitch, they put my money up on my fucking books, bro.
Oh, yeah, take a minute for them to put that shit on there. Even if you walk in with it, man, they be playing it crazy.
Yeah, man.
I swear to God. Hey, you got a machine and shit. You show you straight, you need something. I mean, I'm gonna give you a couple dollars for that, baby.
Yeah, I had some money on my books, nigga. I came in with money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they put this shit on my hookup. I was looking under the tablets. I didn't come up $0. That's some bullshit.
That shit crazy.
Yeah.
How is it, though?
Man, that's some bullshit. I'm really gonna be quarantined on this whole shit, bro.
Oh, yeah, they got you on that quarantine club for how long? 3 days?
I don't know how long, nigga. Shit, I'm about to be the only one in this bitch on my part.
You say, what happened?
I said, shit, I'm about to be the only one. Remember me and young enough in this one, told me one of these boys on this bitch.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
What you need?
Huh?
No, I was actually what that customer needs. Man, listen. You straight?
Yeah, good, my nigga.
Huh?
I said, yeah, I'm good, oh, shit, yeah. You got a passion number, right?
Yeah.
So, Dig, I need you to call her one day, nigga, and get that truck up there, nigga. Get my phone out there back seat, bro.
Oh, man. All right. Well, I'm going to get the truck up there. What am I tell her?
So you gonna you fuck around and lost a car that there too when we was moving the radio on the seat. Now, I said this.
You have 1 minute remaining for this call.
Reach behind that back seat.
Yeah.
So you reach behind that back seat, bro. The box right there. Straight behind the middle of that back seat, bro.
Okay, under it or in the back or in the back thing?
In the back, like right in the back of the seat, bro.
Okay.
On the second row.
You know you took the key. took the key to the gate.
It's the same key.
I don't got that key to it.
Yeah, you do. It's the same key to the lock and door.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. All right.
Yeah, it's the same key. But
Now, you know I got you. I'll put the money on the phone later, man. When I get around, baby, I will put the credit card. You?
It's all about that. You get him on that. I call my wife and have her bring up the tea.
No, I don't need it though. If you send the same one, I got it. So I don't need it right now anyway. Just when I get the scrap out of there.
Okay.
And Mr. Wright, were you successful in getting that cell phone from the vehicle like Mr. Budd asked you to?
She came up there, but no, I wasn't successful. It wasn't there.
Wasn't there? Okay. What do you do when you finish fixing? Do you ever fixing the red Jaguar?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you do when you finish fixing it?
We take it back to her. I called her first and asked her how she was planning on retrieving the vehicle. She said she was going to tow it, and I didn't want to cost her no more money, so I told her that we could bring it.
Okay. And do you recall if that was on or about January 9th of 2024?
It was on.
It was on that day?
Yes.
Okay. So on that day, tell me about how that day started for you.
I woke up. I typically leave the house at 6 because that's what time I could leave. So I went to the gym. I got to the shop probably around 8:30. I don't know who opened the shop. I can't really recall which one of us opened it, but Jarvis may have been there already. A few cars came in, then the Jaguar probably got there maybe around 9 o'clock. I assessed the Jaguar. Jarvis left for a moment. I had another mechanic, being it's a foreign car, so I had a foreign car mechanic on call to help with the work, but he was busy, so he came, said he wouldn't have time to do it, so I think I Googled it, seen how it was done, and I proceeded taking the water pump off.
Okay. About that work that day?
Yes, he was there.
Okay. What do you guys, you being you and Mr. Butts, do as it relates to work that night?
I think we had a few cars that came in that needed some minor repairs. Between that and the Jaguar, we was jumping in and out of the Jaguar job, and the cars that pulled up, maybe oil change, tune up, whatever, et cetera, so forth was. But we was mainly working on the Jaguar, trying to get the water pump off, as it is a hard job to do. And on our way back, we was coming down Harbor. Jarvis said, "I see my niece right there. She walking." We pulled into Angel's liquor store. I still didn't see her. He pointed across my face, said she right there. She was coming across the street at that time. She got in the truck with us. She spoke, "Hi King, hi Jay," and we proceeded back to the shop.
Okay. So when you guys are driving to these auto parts stores, who's driving?
Jarvis,
Okay. And where?
passenger seat.
Okay. And you said when you guys are heading back to the shop the second time, that's when you said Jarvis spots someone?
Yes.
Who does he say that he spots?
His niece.
His niece, okay. And you recognize his niece?
Yes, when I see her, when he pointed her out to me, yes, I recognize her walking across the street.
Okay. And so you guys pull over. Where's she get into the car at?
I believe she getting behind me, so the back seat behind me.
Okay. Does Jarvis say anything to her?
Yeah, she speaks to both of us, and we speak back.
Okay. What does he say to her?
Hi.
Hi. And where do you guys go after you pick up his niece?
Back to the shop.
Okay, and that's at 9,000 Connor?
Yes.
Okay. And what do you guys do when you get back to 9,000 Connor?
He back in. We get out. We proceeded working on the Jaguar. I may have got out the car first with the parts, and he was in the car with her for a second. I got out, started working on the Jaguar.
And does what happens next? What do you guys do?
I believe she get out, get into the front seat, reposition herself to the front seat of his truck. It was colder that day. I believe she started the truck. We started working on the Jaguar, putting the parts back on. It took a little minute. Like I said, it was a difficult job, so it took a while. At some point, I believe his truck ran out of gas, so we had to stop what we were doing to push his truck to the gas pump so he could get some gas.
What, if you can see, what is his niece doing while you guys are working on the shop, at the shop?
I believe she's on her cell phone, I believe.
Does Jarvis ever take his niece anywhere that, like, while you guys are working at the shop?
No.
No? Okay. Did you ask him if he was going to take her home at all?
I believe I asked him was he going to drop her off when the truck ran out of gas. We had to push it to the pump. It was just a distraction from work, so I asked was he going to drop her off.
And to leave?
Probably around 7:30 or somewhere around there.
When do you guys eventually leave the shop?
Yes.
Okay. And tell me about who all leaves the shop?
Me, Jarvis, and his niece.
Okay. And tell me about the driving arrangements.
Drove my 300, and Jarvis drove the Jaguar.
And where was his niece at?
She was with him in the front seat of the Jaguar.
Now, are you able to recall what his niece looked like that day?
Yes. Faintly, but yes.
Do you remember what kind of clothing she was wearing?
I remember she had a jacket on. Like I said, a coat. It was cold, so I think it was colorful.
Colorful?
Yeah.
Okay. So, you guys are driving to Ypsilanti. You said you're driving in your 300, and Jarvis is driving the Jaguar with his niece.
Yes.
Okay. About how long did it take you guys to get to Ypsilanti?
It was raining that day, so about.
And when you get to Ypsilanti, what do you do?
We get out. We park the car. Get out. We go in. My son's grandma and I believe his auntie was there as well, so they greeted us. They'd spoken to him before, so they greeted him. And then my son, grandma asked who the little girl was.
And did you introduce the little girl?
No,
Okay. Who introduced the little girl?
Jarvis did.
And what did Jarvis introduce her as?
His niece.
And about how long do you guys stay in Ypsilanti?
Not long, maybe 15 minutes or so. My son, auntie had to go get the rest of our money that my grandma didn't have, so she went to the ATM.
What do you guys do when she went to the ATM?
Talking.
Okay.
Talking. She was just telling us about other work she needed to get around her house, etc., so on and so forth.
Okay. And was Mr. Bucks with you the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. Conversation when you guys were driving?
No, I got sounds in my car, so no.
And do you recall about what time you guys, I guess, where do you guys go when you leave Ypsilanti?
Back to 9,000 Connors.
Do you recall about what time you guys get back to 9,000 Connors?
Probably around 8:45. I was cutting it close on the tether.
What do you do when you get back to 9,000 Connors?
Opened up the shop door where he left. He left his truck in one of the bays, so we opened up that bay door, went through the gas station, because that's the way we entered the shop. Went through the gas station, opened the shop, opened one of the bay doors. I went to the back and started splitting the money that we had made for the day, and separating the receipts.
So,
Getting this truck.
do you recall where at this truck she got into?
Passenger seat.
Is that front passenger, back passenger, or something else?
Front passenger.
And where's your bus at?
Back in the back with me, separating the cash.
And when you leave the shop,
No, I left first.
you left first. Okay. So when you leave, who's still at the shop?
Jarvis and me.
Do you see them leave the shop at all?
No.
Have you seen, or have you seen Jarvis's niece, the one that was with you on the 9th? Have you seen her since January 9th, 2024?
No.
Now I want to talk about the day after that you guys went to Ipsy, so January 10th. Do you recall if Mr. Butts was at work that day?
I don't think he was.
What makes you think that he wasn't?
3 times, 4 times. No reason for him to call me if he was standing right next to me.
He was at work because he would call you, or he called you so often?
He called me. We had a 30-minute conversation on one account, and then we had another conversation about 15 minutes. So,
Jarvis Butts ever mentioned to you about his niece being missing?
no.
Have you talked to Mr. Butts, aside from the call that we played, since turning himself in?
No.
Had you talked to her about Jarvis's niece being missing?
After the police questioned me, I believe she came up there and
The next time you see Jarvis Butts after January 9th, 2024, do you see any injuries on him?
No, I don't believe I see any injuries. Though.
Partners, cell tower tracking data, testimony from someone who claims to have seen Butts and Isaiah together the evening she disappeared, and several.
Tijuana Butts,
All right. And how old are you, Miss Butts?
46.
And do you know someone named Jarvis Butts?
Yes,
And how is it that you know him?
he's my brother.
Reason that you went and talked to Detroit police.
I had reason to believe that I saw Messiah the day she went missing.
Okay. Tell me about that. What makes you believe that you saw Naziah on the day she went missing?
Where do you want me to start this a lot?
So, from the very beginning, where is it that you think you saw Naziah?
At the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay, and whose shop is that?
My brother Jarvis Butts and his partner.
I recall about what time did you go to Jarvis's shop that day?
About 4 p.m., give or take a few minutes.
Okay, and around what time did you leave?
Somewhere between 6 and 6:30.
Okay. And what is it that you noticed while you were at the shop?
So it's a 2 car, like garage. So I was sitting outside of the shop in my car because they were working on another car on the inside. As I sat there for the time that I was there, I kept seeing a little girl get in and out of his truck, going to the gas station and going back to his car.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. Whose car are we talking about?
My brother.
Okay, and what kind of car was it?
Believe the Cadillac Escalade.
Do you get a look at this little girl that you see getting in and out of his car?
I saw her as she was walking. I never saw her face.
Did you see any clothing?
I did.
Okay. Did anything about the clothing stick out to you that you remember?
I just remember her having on a colorful jacket.
Okay. And what door, which side do you remember seeing her getting in and out of Jarvis's truck? Or did it change?
I don't really remember.
Okay, that's okay. So you said you mostly remember a jacket, a colorful jacket.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm going to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 2, which is already admitted, and People's Proposed Exhibit 10. You understand my approach?
Yes.
Thank you. handing you, it's marked as People's Exhibits 2 and 10. Okay. Do you recognize anything in those photos?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
What is it that you recognize?
Right here, this jacket.
And for the record, you're pointing up in channel 1, and you recognize this like pink colorful jacket?
Yes.
Okay. And this little girl with this jacket on, getting in and out, going into the gas station?
Yes.
Okay. Did you know who this little girl was at the time?
No.
Okay. Is there a time that you ever get out of your car?
Yes.
And what do you do?
I needed to use the restroom, so I asked his partner if I could use the restroom. He told me to go and tell him in the gas station. And as I was walking towards the gas station, she was walking in front of me going into the gas station.
Okay. So
I remember her being kind of small, like outside of just seeing her get in and out of the car. When I was walking towards her, I was like, she's tiny, and I just remembered the coat.
okay. Tiny, like in what way? Like tiny, skinny, short?
Kind of skinny and short.
Okay. And did you ever ask Jarvis who the little girl was?
Yes.
And what did he tell you?
He told me, and I can't remember if it was this exact word, or he said it's my partner's niece, or he said it was King's niece.
Okay.
But
But you knew who he was referring to?
yes.
Okay. Did you think anything of it at the time?
No.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something? Was there a time where you thought something different?
Yes.
Okay. And what is it that made you think something different?
I received phone call, a video call from one of his kids' mom, and she told me about some things that happened on Valentine's Day, and then she sent me a video of a podcast about my brother.
Okay. And what did you do as a result of receiving those things?
I called Shannon and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number. Yes.
Okay. Who do you go and talk to?
His partner, King,
Okay. And where is it that you go and talk to King at?
at the shop on Harbor Encounters.
Okay. And without telling me what King said, kind of describe what was your conversation about?
Well, I went to see what happened and what was going on. During that time, I told him that I had never seen any little girl at my brother's shop besides my nieces, outside of the little girl that I saw getting out of his truck that day.
Okay.
And you told this to who?
King.
Okay.
After I mentioned to him that I had only saw my nieces and one particular little girl, he then told me that that was Naziah that I saw that day and I was there.
And to your knowledge, Jarvis had told you that that was King's niece.
Yes.
Okay. And when you talked to King, did you have reason to not believe what Jarvis told you?
Yes.
Okay. What is it that you did after speaking with King that day?
I called Shannon Harris and I asked her for Sergeant Jones' phone number.
Okay. And did you eventually talk to Sergeant Jones?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Butts, did you come to learn of the day that you had gone to Jarvis's shop by going through the locations on your phone?
Yes.
Okay.
The Latricia Johnson.
How is it that you know Jarvis Butts?
He's my daughter's father.
First time. Let's talk about the first time. How did it come about that he borrowed your car?
He called and asked if he can use my car to do something with his son.
Okay. And when is it that or how did he get your car?
I didn't get home till about 9 o'clock, and he came to my house to pick
Okay.
my car up.
Is that 9 a.m. or 9 p.m.?
9 p.m.
9 p.m.? Okay. And you said he came to your house and picked it up?
Yes.
Okay. To your knowledge, did Mr. Butts say how long he was going to borrow your car for?
No,
Okay. Did you have a time where you expected it back?
at least 2 hours.
Okay. When did Mr. Butts return with your car?
The next morning.
Was this normal, abnormal?
No, not normal.
Not normal? Okay. And did Mr. Butts say what he was doing when he had your car?
No.
Okay. Did you notice anything different about or in your car after his use that first time?
No.
Okay. Did you notice anything in the back seat that was different?
There was a pair of glasses that was left that my son was playing with at the time.
Okay. You come to ask Jarvis about these glasses.
Well, my son was playing with them when I was with Jarvis at his shop.
And I guess,
The next day, I went to the shop, and my son, picking my son up from school, Jarvis was see his daughter, and my son was playing in the back with the glasses.
okay. From when Jarvis had borrowed your car and returned it to you picking up your son from school, had anybody else borrowed your car?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're at the shop, you see your son playing with the glasses, you take them from him.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, tell me, what does Jarvis do?
He snatched them from me and said those were his son's glasses.
Okay. That Jarvis asked to use your car, you said that was either the day after or the next day?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about how that comes to happen.
Well, he comes to my house when he get off work. He comes by to get my car, say he needs to use it again for his son. I said okay, and he said he wasn't going to be gone for that long like he was the time before. I said okay, and he was only gone for like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
A phone call in which Jarvis asked you some things about your vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. And you've heard that call before?
Yes.
Okay, and was that call that I played for you, is that a fair and accurate depiction of the call that you had with
Yes.
Jarvis and him asking you about the car?
Yes.
Who told you those things?
I didn't know what to think when he told me those things.
Okay. What did you do in response to receiving this call, if anything?
Nothing.
Okay. Did you clean anything up?
No.
Did you wipe anything down?
No.
Okay. And that would be in your house?
Yes. House, car,
Car?
everything.
Okay.
Didn't touch it, nothing.
All right. Okay. So, just to clarify a little bit, Jarvis borrowed your car on the 9th,
Yes.
brought it back the 10th in the morning,
Yes.
Did-
Yeah.
about 6 a.m. or so, or in the morning?
In the morning, about 8:30, 8 o'clock.
8:30. All
I
right.
was taking my son to school.
Okay. And did he borrow it later that day again or the next day?
I can't remember if it was later that day or the next day. I just know he did it again.
Appeared in several Naziah's belongings in areas investigators tracked Butts in the days following her disappearance to prove that Butts murdered Naziah. Defense argued that there's not enough connection between the alleged evidence to suggest that Butts intended and caused Naziah's death. Ultimately, Sabry found there was enough evidence to let a jury decide the case.
You state your name for the record, sir?
Antonio Carlisi.
And what do you do for a living?
I'm a detective with the Detroit Police Department, homicide unit.
2024, did you receive a request or a dispatch to go to a location?
Not on that date, but yes, I did receive a request back in February 20th of 24 to make 4803 Bedford to recover some video.
Oh.
At that time, to recover video from a surveillance unit that's showing a girl walking down the street.
Okay.
That is Bedford and Cornwall.
Okay. And then is the street 3 Mile Drive nearby this location?
That's 1 block east of Bedford.
And stopping the video at 9 seconds in, I'm not going to ask you to narrate what we're seeing in the video. I just want to lay some groundwork as to what we're looking at. Did you see that bus go by on the right side of the screen?
Correct.
And where is that bus approximately stopping right now on the screen?
That's stopping right approximately at 3 Mile Drive.
And Cornwall?
Cornwall.
Okay. And extracting the video from?
Correct. We do a time calibration to the world clock.
Okay, and what is the world clock?
So basically, the world clock is the anatomical clock that we go by from
around
2:54 p.m. on the 9th of January.
And
Talasha Moore.
And, excuse me, Ms. Moore, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, but first I want to ask you, do you know someone by the name of Cordell Wright?
I do.
And how do you know Mr. Wright?
He is the father of my nephew, my 17-year-old nephew.
So, and would Mr. Wright ever come out to Ypsilanti to fix your mom's car, her Jaguar?
Yes.
How often did he do that?
Like a couple times, at least 2 times.
And was that around January of 2024?
That was the last time.
In January was the
Yes.
last time? And when he would go out there, would he bring anyone with him?
This last time, he did it.
What about
Or
prior?
the last 2 times. So before January 9th, him and someone else came, and then on January 9th, they both came.
Okay. And the person that he brought with him, do you see that person in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And then on January 9th, did you see that red Jaguar again?
Yeah.
Okay. Who brought that Jaguar out to Ypsilanti?
Cordell and Jarvis.
Okay. And was anyone else with Cordell and Jarvis?
Yes.
Who is that person?
Naziah.
And I want to clarify, at the time on the 9th, when Cordell, Jarvis, and Naziah came, did you know that that was Naziah Harris?
No.
Do you know that now?
I do know now.
Okay. And is that based on information you've learned or seen in the news and things like that?
Well, it was based on when the detectives came to the house to question us. That's when I found out who she was.
But at the time on the 9th, you didn't know?
Mm-mm.
Is that a no?
No, yeah, it's a no. I did not know.
Now, let's talk about when they came out on the 9th, January 2024. What was that interaction? How long did it last? Can you kind of take me through, start to finish, their visit and delivering the car?
So they came, they delivered the car. They were talking to my mom about what was wrong, gave her the invoice. It was just like a regular day. When they came in, they sat on the couch for a few minutes. Naziah was sitting in the chair by the TV. We spoke, very brief. Asked her if she wanted something to drink. She didn't. My 6-year-old son ran up to her, the dog. It was just very mellow. They sat there, we talked about the car and stuff. We talked about my nephew. Cordell was trying to wait till my nephew got out of school, but because he was on tether, they had to leave, so they didn't get to stay long enough for my nephew to come.
And your nephew would be Cordell's son?
Cordell's son, yeah, correct.
Did you talk to Mr. Butts about Naziah? Did he introduce her or anything like that?
We just asked, hey, everybody spoke. He said this is his niece, and that was pretty much the basis of it. I cannot remember if he said her name or not, but he did introduce her as his niece.
And so, just to be clear, not sure about the name, but he said this is his niece about Naziah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
That's a yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then after that conversation, let me ask you, during that time when they were there, did you notice anything that was unsettling or concerning about Neziah?
No.
It was just a normal interaction?
Yes.
After that interaction was over, did the three of them, Cordell, Jarvis, and Neziah, leave your house?
Yes.
Okay. And as far as you know, they were headed back to Detroit, correct?
Correct.
She, Sabri, held him accountable. She pointed out very significant things, even down to his body language. During the whole thing, me and my family just really appreciate her for that, said Neziah.
It's January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, from the day Neziah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Neziah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me, the family knows more than me. But from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several people failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love. I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, AKA King, and all the men who saw Jarvis Butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Neziah, and his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up his shop. The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Neziah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022. To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Neziah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine, to establish also that Neziah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Neziah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Neziah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Neziah that he did in the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know. I even thought about the breakfast routine and saying that all the kids like eating breakfast at school. Did they have a choice? I don't know. But to always send those girls up there to clean up the shop raises questions. And how were there 2 women in that house who have birthed children themselves who did not notice that Neziah was pregnant, and I believe she was, and not having her period anymore? But then after hearing text messages today, begging Jarvis for pads as if she didn't have anyone else to give them for her. And what stood out the most was when Annette Harris stood on the stand, and she learned around 6 p.m. that Neziah did not come home from school, and said she looked around for her and decided to wait until the next morning to call the police. Without a tear, without emotion, or any expression of being devastated. And to her Aunt Shannon, who also showed no emotion, expression of being devastated from Neziah going missing. She stated that she had friends help look for Neziah, but was directed to just wait until the morning to call the police. A grown woman who likely suspected something strange going on didn't feel the need to call the police either. They were both able to go to sleep at night without hearing from Neziah or having any indication that she was coming home that night. And of course, the defendant, who I will get to in a minute. I don't know who else failed Neziah, but the community did to cover it up. as much as I want her to be alive today, there is at least probable cause to show and believe that she's dead and she was murdered by Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, stand up. You've been sitting over there for 4 days with your head down, sitting between and behind your attorney with your mask on and taking vigorous notes. I want you to pay attention and listen to everything I have to say. I have been trying to figure out for the last 5 days, you. At one point, I thought you were cognitively impaired in the beginning of this exam. And then maybe you had the brain of a 10-year-old, and that's why you were doing such things. But as I heard more and more testimony, you're just the true definition of a pedophile. Watching you laugh and brag about all the women you have with different women and the children and the girlfriends, and making babies to groom them, and having them in your presence, cleaning up, quote, cleaning up your shop, and the little girls around you, has landed you here today. You groomed Isaiah. You played mind games with her. We all heard that. You controlled her emotionally. She was exposed to so much at such a young age. The text messages between you two were disgusting to hear. And to think that she had you saved in her phone as babe for life. Isaiah deserves so much more. And while I mentioned other people that failed her, Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that. She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. Your children deserve more.
Isaiah's cousin, Roxy. More than 20 witnesses, including a combination of experts, family members, and law enforcement officials, spoke in court over the past 4 days. Eyewitnesses, including Isaiah's grandmother and aunt, testified Monday. Isaiah's aunt, Shannon Harris, testified that she did not suspect anything beyond a normal uncle-niece bond between Butts and Isaiah. Now, Shannon is the one, I believe, that Jarvis was dating. I believe that's the one he was dating, but I'm not sure. Butts also had...
And Ms. Davis, I want to ask you about someone by the name of Jarvis Butts. Do you know that person?
Yes.
And how do you know Mr. Butts?
He was my fiance.
In total, have you known Mr. Butts?
4 years.
And
2019.
2019?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
And when did you become engaged?
2023.
And can you tell us a little bit about the nature of that relationship? Do you have any children with him? Things like that?
No children.
Okay. And would Mr. Butts sometimes stay over at your house?
Yes.
How often would that happen?
Pretty often, but we didn't live together.
Okay. I want to take your attention back to January of 2024 and February of 2024. Did there come a time when Jarvis Butts asked you to drive him to court?
Yes.
And when was that?
February 7th.
Of 24?
Yes.
And was there a time before that that you had to drive him to court?
Yes.
And when was that?
January, I think it was the 9th.
Okay.
It was in January.
So you've at least driven him to court twice?
Yes. Yes.
And when you were driving him to court, did you ask him about his cell phone?
Yes.
What did you ask him?
I said, "Where's your phone?"
And what was his response when you asked him that question?
He left it at home.
What Jarvis told you, that his phone was someplace else?
No.
And did you know that his phone was in your car?
No.
Did you give permission to the police to search your car?
No, they just came and took it.
Okay. They had a search warrant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Face once and tried to
Yes.
put the screens together. So you wanted to know what was in his phone?
Yes.
And he did not want you to know what was in his phone?
No.
As far as you know?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Did you ever talk to him about why he was so secretive with his phone?
Yes.
And does it have something to do with the fact that he was seeing other ladies?
Yes.
And you suspected that at the time?
Yes.
And so that's why you were looking for proof?
Correct.
Okay.
In my truck, that's how we would get back and forth.
And that's the Suburban?
Yes.
Did you know Mr. Butts to ever have his own vehicle?
Yes, he had a white Chrysler truck, van like.
Okay. And when did you know him to drive that?
Like maybe the first 2 years when we were together.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Butts would come visit you, would he park in your driveway?
Yes.
Would he spend weekends with you also?
Yes.
Also had been charged with the sexual abuse of 2 other girls in separate cases. He shouldn't have been nowhere near this girl. And then the live that the family did, her cousin said Shannon knows everything. She said he told Shannon everything. So, yeah. Yeah, some of this testimony is going to be hard to watch. But we need to be informed. We need to know what's going on. We need to be aware of these allegedly missing Black girls that are not really missing, that are actually unalived by people they trusted. It's disgusting.